so much more to offer.
What was the fight or fighter in UFC that got you into that?
In terms of introducing me to the sport in and of itself, I got to say Conor. By no means am I going to call Conor my all-time favorite, because there are many more that I'm getting acquainted to and people who I'm learning to admire from their early career up to their current status on the roster. But honestly, it's really no surprise that Conor McGregor, based on the popularity and based how easy it was to find him on places like YouTube or social media, that his name alone exposed me to what UFC was. And then from there, I got into other fighters like Masvidal, and then I got into Diaz. And then I started learning more about, let's see, as of late, Usman, and then you got Edwards, and then you got Adesanya, and then you've got mostly from hearsay, I've heard of names such as Yoel Romero, and then I've looked into Michael Bisping.
Do you remember which fight you saw from Conor back then?
It wasn't even a fight. More so, it was just
a press conference.
More so, just a cavalcade of clips. Yeah, press conference highlights, for example.
So it's trash talk.
The trash talk was what introduced me, but from there, I wanted to learn more about what.
How old are you, bro?
22, brother.
Oh, for sure.
What made him this phenomenon? What truly made him endearing at the time, or at least noticeable to the general public? Mm-hmm. Quite frankly, Conor McGregor did introduce me to MMA, but I wasn't even introduced. We did mention the press conference highlights. I actually found out more about Conor through his Maymac promotion over his standard UFC bouts. I actually found out more about him through his Toronto press conference 2017, when he got the entire audience to just go ham against Mayweather in his camp. When he was speaking against his camp, Leonard Ellerby, he spoke against Showtime, saying things along the lines of, "Fuck Showtime too, you little weasel. Look at you, I'm standing your fucking eyes. You're a fucking bitch."
I fuck with that, bro.
Those
you
lines
even like got
leave.
it down, because I'm a huge Conor fan too, but I never. My brother got more of that. He can mimic that very kind of like how you got it.
My register is horrible for those types of impressions.
Nah, but you got it down, bro. That was pretty dope. That was because I would say you and my brother are like right there with it, because I can't definitely do it. I could probably say, "What the fuck, man?" Like,
I own Rio de Janeiro. So let's see if there's another line he said. So if he says that he's the king and I'm the joker, then he is in a different time, because if we were back then, I would drive into his favela on horseback
He has it down, bro.
and kill everyone who was not fit to work. We're in a different time, so I'll whoop his ass in July then.
Here's another one. He's like, that motherfucker don't look like me.
Oh, I remember that when he was doing that behind the scenes filming for the teaser trailer between himself and Aldo. That trailer hit hard when they put the Kanye track and they were walking through the LA Vegas strip, excuse me, and then just that transition of seeing the two in the octagon. Obviously, they had doubles because you couldn't have both fighters in the same setup, but that commercial alone, and I managed to see that through the embedded videos. There was a time during the pandemic where I was just
studying and all that
crazed on not even just Conor, but I would say
that was the only sport during the pandemic.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't really call it a sport entertainment. Pro wrestling was also involved, because Vince McMahon and Dana White, they were two of the figureheads that I was familiar with at the time, who were like saying, pandemic, no pandemic, the show must go on. That's why for UFC, they had the UFC Apex. For WWE, they had the Performance.
Yeah, WWE, they had empty arenas when they were doing it at first. You know what I'm saying? So they
still broadcasting.
Spearheaded. The Dana White and Vince definitely spearheaded other organizations to be like, yo, we can figure out
continue
ways
doing this.
Oh, absolutely.
There's too much money not to,
And it also brought a lot of new UFC fans.
Oh, without question.
Because that's the only thing that was
out there.
Like my boy
Kevin right here, like that, just started
I mean, that's also...
He was one of those viewerships that made all these YouTubes go up, because he kept just watching.
Oh yeah, that content really helped out.
And that's what happened. Even talk show hosts, different that are out there, they didn't have anything to talk about because the sports world was shut down. Mm-hmm. And then they started talking about the UFC, because that's all they could talk about. It gave them content to talk about something. Right. The show must go on.
Oh yeah, I still recall the early half of 2020 when you saw those ESPN interviews with Dana White mentioning, we got an island, and he's not going to mention the island, and it turns out that it's Abu Dhabi Yas Island.
Yeah, that was one thing that kind of disappointed me. I expected them to be fighting outside on the beach.
I know. There was even promotional footage that showed an octagon on the seafront. It's saying, are we going to get this in a tropical setup?
It just was covered. It just, because they built that up just for that.
I find that they were trying to
your brother wanted a Coliseum, bro.
So that was the case.
That's what your brother wanted. Maury wanted to see Coliseum, bro. He wanted that gladiator
It would have been like
mentality,
that
bro.
one show that used to be on when I was a kid. There used to be a show that was right after like on Fox, right after all the like Saturday mornings, like around 11 or 12. Right after all the cartoons, they would have this martial arts show where people would. It was like Mortal Kombat, but a show. I forgot the name of it.
American Ninja Warrior, right?
Nah, it was.
Was it American Gladiator?
Nah, this is like heck no. American Gladiator was on NBC or CBS, something like that. Fox had this. This was like literally guys doing different martial arts, but it was like you can kind of tell it was choreographed, but it was pretty good. It was dope. And now looking back, what was your favorite moment in the UFC from all the studying that you did and like that you were like, damn man, this is like a crazy sport that I really I'm in love with. Have you watched it live?
I've always wanted to go to a live event. In terms of live seeing it on pay-per-view multiple times, but in an actual arena setup, not yet. That's bucket list.
Got you.
But,
and then what was that moment? That knockout?
honestly, it wasn't even necessarily a knockout that really got me invested in the sport. There's a compilation that was uploaded by BT Sport on YouTube that shows all the moments up to that point. I think it was uploaded in 2018, so there's been more since then, of respect post-matchup. You have people such as Anderson Silva, who's bowing to his opponents, even to Chael Sonnen after the fact, and just seeing those moments where, in spite of all the promotion, all the hype, some of the vitriol between the fighters, having that one moment to just embrace, knowing that they've been through war, knowing that they've been through this, and that, and coming out to an extent scathed, but still having that mutual respect for one another, knowing that we've gone through this, now we're bonded for life, in essence. That I find that beautiful, and such a truly, in some people's eyes, barbaric sport. I find the nature of martial arts to be just
my dad definitely
beautiful.
says that this is a barbaric sport. He doesn't like watching it. Like he'll tolerate a couple minutes of it, but he won't sit there and watch a whole fight, a UFC card with us. Damn, bro, like definitely the UFC has changed my view on what human beings are capable of doing it to each other, bro.
It can be
like,
terrifying.
To see
terrifying.
George Masvidal just set up a flying knee that way, bro.
3 seconds. I know overall it says 6 seconds, but let's be honest,
it was
3 seconds,
bro, for sure.
Ben Askren.
And then
Well, he
like
knew Ben Askren was
the
a
shit
shoot.
talking leading to that, and then for it to go out like that was like mind blowing.
That was super necessary, crotch sniffer.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Damn.
and then it sucks to see George hang it up this weekend.
I know, but to that point, the man's already had it made. 2019 it's one of those years, one of those moments in not just sporting history, not even to that man's history, that you can't write this shit. At that particular moment, he was already, he said he was 20 years into his career by this point. So let's say between 15, 16 years already, he's established. Was at that point a journeyman. Then you got Darren Till before that, and you had a 3-year layoff before he returned to the UFC. And then that one flying knee, that changed everything. He was immediately the guy. All the promotion, all the build-up, no matter what his record was, 3 losses in a row, and now 4 losses. That flying knee, that cemented his name in history. He was able to make a truckload of money.
And
He
then
was
they
able to
made
get
a
his name
belt
out
for
there.
him.
No,
Yeah.
the BMF title.
Well, wasn't that made for Nate originally?
It was made for whoever
That was
won it.
between Masvidal and Diaz, Madison Square
Right?
Garden.
Yeah, so whoever won it was gonna take it, but
I would argue that unless it's put up for defense, for me, it's a glorified participation trophy. Unless it is put up for defense as an official title, because as of right now, in the words of Masvidal, there are plenty of bad motherfuckers in the league. So who's to limit George Masvidal, Jorge Masvidal? as
And he's
the only
retired
BMF?
now, so technically that title's vacated. You know.
Alright, so I was watching
it's
a Chael Sonnen video, and he said that although he made the gesture of cutting his gloves and leave him on the canvas, he did not say he retired. And
He
that
said, "I'm done."
He
but
was saying like all these things where Chael Sonnen was implying that he might not be done and that he might come back or all this shit. But I don't know, bro.
We
It's
all
a wrap.
realize-
I saw his interview today with Ariel Hawani. He said that he's
a
done.
wrap, right?
That
It's
he feels that his.
Didn't he say that he's retired in the Spanish version of his post-fight speech? Didn't he address the crowd in Spanish?
I don't recall, but from what I saw today with Ariel Hawani, he was talking about how his response time isn't there anymore. Like he sees a punch coming, he doesn't react to it as quick as he used to. He says
It's a shame.
and he feels that like 2-3 years ago he probably would have beat Gilbert Burns.
Father Time just catches up to you, bro.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And then
Well, he is 38, bro.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too is that you're seeing that decline of him, but also even leading up to the fight, many times he said, "If I lose this fight, I'm retiring," which is what we saw.
Right. No, I'm
He even
just
said
saying
it,
what
he said it
Chael
on
said.
Ariel Hawaii today that if he
You
would have
get it-
won, he would have retired too.
Really?
That's what he said today on
Because he
Ariel
did not
Hawani
say that leading
I have
up
yet
to
to
the
watch
fight.
that.
No.
I was actually watching a bit of Helwani before I got here,
And-
but I never got to the Masvidal segment.
And just like Dana White has said about a lot of fighters, once you start flirting with retirement, even just mentioning
Just wrap it
Yeah,
up.
your mind.
It's a
Yeah.
mind. It's,
But yeah,
you
it's
know
a
what I
mind
mean?
game.
Lack
yeah.
of confidence and assurance that this is indeed a young man's game, and by that point you realize, okay, like my days are numbered in terms of this profession. Soon enough, I got to go, but I got to go on my terms.
That's crazy because you know what? I feel like that's how it is in any profession.
Absolutely.
Because like I've been in my profession for almost 2 decades, and I'm like, damn, like that's like that, just like that, and I'm like, what's gonna happen in 2 more decades? Like, you know, am I gonna still have that passion and drive? Am I gonna want to like today today I was talking to one of my clients about AI, and he was like telling me how he thinks that AI is gonna come as fast as in 20 years take a majority of people's jobs. And I was like, damn. And one of the stuff that I showed him was a clip from Earn Your Leisure that they said, they were like comparing these jobs that people will lose, like customer service, taxis, what was the other job? Fast food, like it's gonna be prepared by something else now. And then
Do you think we'll see robots fighting on the octagon one day?
so this is one that. So then they went down the list of the jobs that are gonna be
Even
able
barbering, isn't it?
So one of the jobs that they said that we're gonna be able to stay or transcend the time or whatever was athletes, and then the next one was barbering, and then one of the other guys put an input and argued that AI is coming with barbering and it can happen in the next 15
It can,
years.
yeah, to replace
But
barbering.
he said that Supercuts could add that $50 million, and maybe there's gonna be a group of people that are okay with getting that quick buzz and just it's an assembly line type. Job,
So you're
right?
talking
God.
about like if you want to get a haircut done by a human being, it's more of a rarity now.
It's gonna be more.
So
of
it's
an
more exclusive.
exclusive, more
You
experience,
can,
right?
Yeah.
And then
charge
the other
more.
thing that it's gonna like, what I found interesting is that it's gonna go back to that gladiator mentality.
Well, the
Oh,
way I would
God.
compare it, it's like the cars, right? Where it's like you have the people that like the resto mods, and they like the people that actually, instead of just getting a car repaired from the machine line, it's like, no, they want someone that actually takes their hand, it's handcrafted, and that's more
Right,
appreciated.
right.
So that's like barbering from an actual human being, that's how it would be
That's what
compared
they're
to a
gonna-
machine just
but
doing
it's
it
just
for you.
interesting to hear that they're saying that athletes is gonna be one of those sustainable jobs through the times. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
right?
because
but
as
it's like
human
how
beings,
many
we
of
wanna
us are
see
gonna
that.
become athletes?
Yeah.
Like, and then to think that it's like where are humans gonna be at that point where it's just athletes that we're getting entertained by, because already they're doing this. Look at this. This
And-
was sold out
yeah.
Miami. They hadn't been there in 20 years. That's insane to think that UFC had not gone to Miami with Conor McGregor, bro.
Oh, yeesh.
Like, we had Jake Paul fighting there, and
Oh,
we don't
yeah.
have UFC until now. I mean, it's kind of insane to think.
They've been in Florida, just not in that city specifically.
Right, exactly. Where like
Jacksonville.
Orlando.
Yeah.
Can't think of the other one, but yeah, Jacksonville, Orlando.
Yeah, it
for
was
sure.
just that specific city they hadn't been in there.
Because Orlando,
Miami
I know.
is Miami. It's
Orlando,
beautiful.
I remember
It's
there
like
was,
here, like they come to California, but they don't come to LA. Like
what's crazy?
when Maury and I went to watch the live event, we had to drive to San Diego.
He said that he compared Miami, what is Miami now, to what LA was
10 years
10
ago.
years ago, yeah.
That's crazy, bro. I was like getting out of high school 10 years ago now, 13 years ago. But still, that's insane to think that LA's changed that much just because of a pandemic.
It's only going to further change, and in some eyes, it may even further worsen given current conditions and all uncertainty, especially especially with cost of living and other factors continuing to rise, I really do see LA losing its luster very, very soon, and more people just flocking out of here onto other areas, whether it's Texas, whether it's Florida. You have so many former Angelinos getting out because now it's becoming a lot more difficult to call LA home or California home overall.
Right.
It's a shame.
I mean, I'm hearing people go up north, like Thousand Oaks. Amazon just opened like a big ass warehouse in Oxnard. And I was talking to one of the locals there. I was in Oxnard today, and they were telling me how like a lot of it's no longer a town anymore because of the growth of
Nah, it's
Amazon.
become a city out there.
Right, it's crazy.
Yeah, and then out there too, like a lot of thing that a lot of people like to do right out there is go eat seafood. Ooh. So I discovered that with my family years ago. You know, back in the day, a lot of people used to travel to San Pedro.
But that's all
closed now.
To eat seafood out there, but it became so expensive out there. Dude, now you go to Oxnard, dude, you get good seafood at Oxnard at reasonable prices.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So even that, like, a lot of tourism goes out there in that sense. So, yeah, no, it's changing.
I feel like California, we got to get a better governor.
Look at Palmdale and Lancaster. I remember a few years ago, that was, like, very rural, you know? And now, like, it's pretty developed.
Right.
You know?
No, definitely in the last 10 years, it got a lot of development in Palmdale.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Because Palmdale used to be like desert. And now you see a lot of like desert, but you see a lot of like homes. You see a lot of Targets and Walmarts and huge ass lots that you're like. And then you see more lots where they're building this shit. You're like, you know what's crazy to see stuff in Palmdale when you see neighborhoods? Like, it's like you see one side, it's all desert. And then it's like this whole like, maybe like 10 football fields, all homes, townhouses. And you're just like, I wonder how many of these people are driving all the way to LA.
Oh, a lot of them. A lot of them. That's daily traffic, man. I have friends that live out there, and they tell me that just to get here to like the valley and back, it's about a 3-hour drive during rush hour traffic.
3 hours?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yep.
Yeah.
But something that we saw this weekend too, with this crazy sport that we watch pretty often.
We didn't even talk about the Izzy fight yet.
We didn't have to get there. Before we get there, we had a couple of them. Like for example, we saw Kevin Gastelum get a dub, and a pretty good one.
I did not see that. That's the only one. That was on the prelims, right? The last fight of the
prelim.
That's who Izzy should run it back with, bro.
What?
No, I don't know about that.
Why not?
Because
Kevin needs way more wins.
He already lapped the whole.
He's one that gave Izzy trouble though.
He did, but
why wouldn't you want to see that?
After he fought Izzy, he was on a sick ass decline, bro. Like Kevin Gastelum probably lost like 5 fights.
Yeah, but who else is in that division, bro, that you would give Izzy?
But right now,
he's already walked through all the top dogs, bro.
No, right now, Kamsa's in that division now. You have Duplessis in that division now, which they're barking at each other. And that's a South African dude. So I think
that's the one that he said that he'll take his carcass.
Yeah, and drag it across the Africa.
What about that theory that they said on ESPN MMA today, where they said that Pereira goes up to light heavyweight, wins the...
Well, Dana said that.
No, hold up. So the theory is this guy tweeted this, and I'm like paraphrasing the theory. He goes up to light heavyweight, right? Wins the light heavyweight championship. Then
comes back.
Izzy.
He comes back to become double champ.
Izzy moves up to contend for that light heavyweight, and then he beats him, or champ.
But I had light heavyweight.
To be and then they said it'll be promoted as the greatest champ fight ever.
I mean, I could see it happening.
Yo, did you see how much bigger Izzy was for this fight?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy, bro, and I could see how like in the post conference they were saying that he's easing his way there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's doing it little by little. He don't just want to gain all this weight.
Well, he's doing the John Jones route. I mean, that's what John Jones. He took his time to gain the weight
John
properly.
Jones wasn't as active though.
He wasn't as active, but he took his time to gain the weight to be able to walk on that weight to be able to fight in the heavyweight division.
But what I'm saying is, this is what Izzy's saying actually is he's gonna take his time to get there. With that 205, right, for light heavy.
Yeah,
and then. Settle into that.
Last time when he fought John, he came in at 200. Remember?
Who?
Izzy.
He came in at about
Was it
190 maybe. He literally didn't even put any weight on to fight at 205.
Jan,
He stayed
when he
at his weight
Jan?
basically.
When he did Jan, yeah.
He
Jan,
stayed at
yeah.
his weight basically.
And that was the biggest issue is that he didn't have the pounds.
Well, I feel like he didn't do that because he was also like thinking, I still gotta come back and defend for.
Got to cut down. Yeah.
You know, so that's a lot of strain on the body. But,
Yeah, and in a sense, I don't think it was. It would have really hurt him. I feel like because you put on that weight. I mean, we see it in the NBA. I know it's a different sport, but they try to put on pounds, you get injured because your body's not used to the weight you're carrying around now.
You know what's crazy? Did you guys notice that Alex was a little bit smaller in this fight also?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
He looks scrawnier.
Right?
What I think so too
Yeah.
is that what happens is they fought back in January?
November.
November was when they fought. So that weight cut affects Pereira way more than it affects, Adesanya. Because Adesanya is basically walking around at that weight. He doesn't really cut weight at all. While Pereira, they were talking about he was at 220 at some point. And then I'm seeing the embeddeds. He was in Thailand. He was traveling, all this. I feel like also when you're traveling doing stuff like that, it's harder for you to stick to your diet.
Oh yeah,
Well, it's
absolutely.
the time. The time messes you up.
That too,
Because
you don't
that
have the
messes
right
up your
rest.
sleep cycle.
Yep.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about the Rojas fight?
I think the kid has a lot of potential. I think it sucked that he was trying to do so much in that first round and trying to get rid of the guy. And he exerted himself to where he didn't plan to hey, you need to go deeper into this is a 3-round fight. Because that's what you saw. You saw exhaustion. And he lost because he no longer had the cardio, the stamina in order to complete that fight. It sucks because it's he ruined his undefeated status, which he had prior to that. But
for the UFC, he was only 1-0 in the UFC.
In the UFC, yes, he was 1-0.
What do you think about what do you think about what's his name? Rojas. What's his first name?
Kevin.
It's Raul.
No,
Rojas.
Raul Rojas. Right.
Rojas, yeah.
I do believe that this particular situation with him, it could go one of two ways. If he was able to take this defeat in stride, knowing that overall in the promotion, as you mentioned, 1-1, that he's able to learn from this, that he's able to realize what are the steps that he's missing out on, what does he have to build upon, what are his strengths, what weaknesses can he counteract, so that way once he goes back, this defeat will humble him, it won't end up like a Paddy Pimblett situation, and from there, he'll further build up his resume, he'll further become a much more grand contender above all, that this hype train that he had initially wasn't in vain in spite of this one loss, and it'll just be a bump in the road in the long term. He's 18, he has a long career ahead of him if he plays his cards right.
I was one of those people that I was like, it's too much hype for a young kid that.
Oh yeah.
As ugly as he is, he looks like a fighter.
Youngest on the roster.
He looks like a person that's
his
born to
voice
fight.
trips me out every time I hear it, bro.
He sounds like Mike Tyson.
Listen.
voice, I
He
was
sounds like
wait,
Mike
what?
Tyson. He looks like Casey Neistat, but he's still got plenty of juice in front of him if he decides to play this correctly.
I feel like he got gassed up, and the issue with being that young and then having an organization back you that much, because they gave him the opener in the pay-per-view fight.
yeah.
Eyes just second, it was huge. And then the kid that he was fighting, he was not a kid. He's kind of been in the game a few years now.
7-1, right? His opponent was 7-1 overall by the time of that fight, right?
Raul Rosas was 7-0, and now he's 7-1. His opponent was 9-1.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
But that's Rodriguez, right?
Yeah.
Christian Rodriguez, yes.
Yeah. This kid was the composure he showed, because Rojas came at him with his best hand right off the bat.
Well, he's just trying to submit him in the first round.
He's only 25 years old.
I mean, 25 compared to 18, bro. Just remember
The
that
strength,
No doubt.
the strength
You know
is
what I'm saying?
different.
Like,
But his first fight, he fought a guy twice his age. He fought a 36-year-old guy at 18. That
But
was
then
his first fight.
you talk about father time there.
and it's at a smaller venue. Rojas fought him in the Apex, wasn't it? So
the first time around?
yeah, his first UFC, the debut was in the Apex, and that's way more different than having a Miami
Well,
crowd.
the Apex doesn't even. Well, sometimes they don't even have a crowd.
Now they have a
It
small
wasn't
crowd.
at the Apex. It was UFC 282, so that was at a venue.
What venue was
I'll
it?
look it up right now.
But
T-Mobile Arena.
that's damn.
Vegas.
T-Mobile Arena, he fought at the.
Fought in Vegas, bro.
That's crazy. I thought it was at the Apex, to be honest.
Nah, because he
But-
fought 282.
I personally think
That
this
was when
kid.
Jan beat. That was the December card.
I
When-
think
when
his
Jan
dad is
did
his
that.
coach, right?
I believe so. I can't say with confidence.
I think his dad is his coach, and I think he needs to start finding
Go to a different camp.
get a camp where they're not gonna treat him as a superstar, and they're gonna treat him as just another fighter that's trying to get those stripes, you know? Because I mean, I wanna get on his bandwagon and support him, but damn, there's just the youth and the naiveness that I saw on Saturday was troubling, bro. Because bro, he was getting beat up. Another guy had opportunities to take him out, just make him submit him.
Yeah,
And
but he
was
wanted to
"I'ma
take it
just-
longer.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna just take you into deep waters, and I'm gonna show
Play
you
with his food.
basically playing with his food, bro. Perfect way to put that. I love that analogy, and he definitely did. And then it was even crazy because it made it seem like Joe Rogan had bet on Rodriguez
Oh,
because
goodness.
it looked like it, bro. It was like the way that the body language was when at the post fight when he talks to him on the in the ring. It was wild, bro. I was like, damn,
And
bro.
it's interesting you say this about his coaches and all that stuff. So Sean Strickland was kind of bagging on him, but then also gave him some like worthy advice where he was basically saying, you don't win high-level fights from your back. It's not a cardio issue, it's an experience issue. Never give up a good position to chase a submission. Everyone would be tired grappling like that. Hopefully the UFC will carry him for a few years. New coaches will help. And it's interesting how like we're basically saying the same things that
Other people observing.
Well, a UFC fighter, you know,
Yeah.
is saying, and because he was the way that I saw him going after those takedowns, it was desperate.
Yeah.
Desperation, you know.
But
what I
he's
mean?
because he wanted to end it in that first round.
Yeah, and
he wanted to prove.
wanted to
like,
highlight.
He wanted to prove like I got this on the first. Dude, he was trying to do the Charles Oliveira, right? he mounted him. He was trying to do what Charles
And I
did a
think that was
Poirier.
good. I think that was good. Like that's why he even says you're giving up a good position to go for a takedown. And I kept seeing that, and I'm like, bro, like.
It's
You
'cause-
use your jab a little bit.
Well,
Let
oh
him
my
get
God.
comfortable. Let him get comfortable with you, with him, the guy striking back, and then it's like studying Khabib, bro. Khabib would do this stuff.
That's why I was so upset with him because he came into this. The hype train was he's overall good. He has hands. He has ground game. He has everything. He can do everything. He's well rounded. As so young for him to be that young, he's so well rounded. All I saw him go was for ground attack, grappling, and I'm like, bro, where are those hands? Make it divert him in a sense that you're gonna make him guess something else.
Yeah, to
not
me-
just. And then he started getting caught with shit that I'm like, damn, now you're falling into his trap because you're being overly aggressive.
Yeah.
You know, with one dimensionally, and I'm like,
And even his takedowns were becoming predictable.
bruh,
Yeah.
bro, he got kneed bad. That I think that's in the second round when he was coming out, se persinó, and the way that se persinó, he knew it was like, I'm gonna die right now. It was sad, bro. It was like, and then it's like, I was even wondering, can they throw out the flag, the white towel?
We saw that in the UFC not too long ago.
Can
Where
they?
Someone just threw in a towel.
Because it looked like bro was like, there was times that he was like this, right? He was just getting like hit and like, get me out of here. He looked like,
What
bro.
a sad sight.
It was, bro.
and what I think so too is, from what I know, his pedigree is he has great grappling and wrestling. And when I saw that in the Contender Series and all that, it gave me I felt good about it because it's like, bro, for the most part, if you have that in the UFC, you can hold someone down. Like, you're going to be pretty successful, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
But there's going to be people that are going to be able to, like, maybe they're not as
if they
good
have
as
defense,
wrestling. Yeah, they have the takedown defense.
Yeah, they have takedown defense. They can counter you in that sense.
Bro, and in the
Control
division
the
he's
wrist.
in right now, it's
Yeah.
a stacked division. The bantamweight division is arguably the toughest division.
He's
in
working
the
his way
UFC.
up there to see what, Brandon, right?
No, Brandon is flyweight, bro. This is
okay.
bantam. This is 135. This is where Chito Vera, Sean O'Malley, Corey Sandhagen,
That's
these
Alex
guys,
division,
Aljamain
right?
Sterling, you know, Dominic
Oh,
Cruz.
it's Aljo.
Aljamain Sterling was giving him like a little adoration.
Like,
He was
bro,
like, yo,
Khabib's cousin is in that. Umar Nurmagomedov, and he's ranked number 11, bro. Like, he has to go through that guy before he even gets to the top 10, because Umar is 11, you know? And that guy is no joke either. Rob Font is in that same division, and we saw him beat Adrian Yanez this Saturday.
Adrian Yanez is nice too.
He is, bro. He
It's
is.
crazy to see him go out like that.
You know?
Yeah,
and Rob Font, didn't he lose his last fight?
Rob Font. I need to check that.
Yeah,
out.
he lost his last one.
I think so, right? It was a war though, right?
Yeah.
Like it was like like blood everywhere after that. But I don't know, man. The UFC. What do you guys think about the merger with the
Rob
WWE?
Font fought Chito Vera
I didn't
last
think
and
we were
lost to
gonna get
Chito
into that
Vera
so
in a
soon, bro.
five round fight. Before
But
that,
Chito fucking. You see, that's the fight where Chito showed like a counter punching ability that was crazy, bro. Because Chito wasn't really that beat up. Rob Font was fucking bleeding, if I'm not mistaken.
that night, yeah, he was. Also, when he fought Jose Aldo, that was also a bad. Like he got beat up by Jose as well.
Yeah, that's when
remember that
Jose thought he could come back.
Yeah, he was making a little run, but then he fought. Who's it? Peter Yan. That he
Yeah,
fought?
Peter Young.
No. Who was the last fight he fought before?
That other guy.
It was
that
Marab.
sounds
Marab.
Marab, right?
Yeah, you're
Marab.
right.
Now you
Yeah,
got
man.
Jose doing his thing in game bred boxing right now, and he's doing pretty good at that. He was able to make a
That's crazy.
pretty
See,
healthy
look what
transition
George
from
is
MMA
doing
to
with that,
boxing.
bro.
That's something else they mentioned to him. Like, if he would go into boxing, he says that out of all the things that he would try, boxing is the only one. He said bare knuckle, his hands wouldn't be able to take it. He's like he wouldn't do MMA anymore, but for sure, boxing is something that if it's the right time, he's in shape, he'd be willing to do it.
So you're talking about Endeavour,
What do you think about
parent
that?
company?
Ooh.
Well, whoever had shares in there was very happy for that merger.
Recent development that I just got earlier today was the fact prior to the merger, it was well established that Vince McMahon for WWE he had 86% voting power when it comes to things going on in creative or anything that pertains to the company. Right now, that's going to be dramatically released. Take this with a grain of salt. I got this from a source called Cultaholic. Post merger, Vince McMahon's influence is going to be reduced to. If I remember correctly, 16%. So instead of having majority influence over the affairs of the WWE, given the fact that Endeavour is finally taking charge over the operation with 51% majority decision making, Vince, regardless of a $21.6 billion merger, he's just going to be another pawn. He's just going to be another pawn at the end of the day.
I was watching the interview where like the guy from Endeavour was talking.
Ari Emanuel.
Like you remember that? Have you seen that interview?
Yeah, I have.
And like that guy said that he's still gonna let him do the creative side of it, but I mean that'd be
To an
crazy.
extent, Vince is quoted saying yes and no, that he's not going to be down in the trenches, which I presume means he's not going to be near the guerrilla position or behind the curtain where he's able to interact with the performers, the wrestlers, or superstars, whatever you want to designate them.
So
but it's going to be
from far
more
away?
to more from behind the scenes. He's going to be somewhere that's less accessible, but still he's able to provide some modicum of control over the general affairs of what goes on the program, whether it's Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. This most recent Monday Night Raw, I didn't get to see it. I only had to see highlights, for better or for worse, was quoted by many wrestling fans as one of the worst because the general direction of the show was indicative of what the prior McMahon regime would do, of taking a full script on a 3-hour program and making last-minute changes seconds, if not during the initial moments that the broadcast aired live. That places so much unnecessary pressure and stress on the wrestlers that immediately it makes it all appear jumbled. It makes everything appear clusterfucked.
I've heard a lot about that actually with Vince McMahon and like him just going off on people like right when things like let's say a match just ended, he just goes off on the fighter like
The man is a
fuck
the man is a micromanaging extremist, and he utilizes negative motivation in order to get his wrestlers to go from one echelon of talent or expressionism to another. He is known quite often within the wrestling sphere as one of the most eccentric, not just billionaires, but individuals overall. What are some examples I can give? Kofi Kingston, who had an incredible finish in 2019 where Kofi Mania was a trend at the time where he finally received the WWE Championship. There is a tall tale that during a flight from one program to another, Kofi Kingston was essentially on the chopping block. He was being considered for termination because he couldn't get over with the crowd or he wasn't entertaining enough. It is quoted that if he, according to one of his fellow wrestlers, did not challenge Vince McMahon, the chairman of the board at the time, to a fight, to a wrestling match right there on that plane, that Vince essentially thought that from that lack of initiative, that Kofi Kingston was done. Vince McMahon is the type of person that he is willing for you to go above and beyond and even get physical with him if it demonstrates that you're willing to put yourself to a higher level in the company, because at the end of the day, through your fame and through your effort, you're able to generate big bucks.
You know what's crazy
But
though too?
I was gonna say, like, just to be the devil's advocate, he doesn't get to have a $1 billion company without having that persona. Just
Oh,
because
absolutely.
I own a business, and I feel like when you own a business, the business embodies who you are as a person, and in a sense, that's why it's
Have you
failing
guys
terribly, because it's not like he hasn't involved. You know what I mean? And he ain't involved with the times. But what were
I
you gonna say,
agree.
Mauricio?
have you guys heard what happens with John Cena whenever he has like a movie deal or anything like that?
He gets a percentage off of that, right?
The WWE takes a fat
Well, it's
percentage.
because
off
they
that.
got
Does
smart.
because
They got smart because
well,
of
they
The Rock.
created his image.
Yeah, the
Right.
WWE, they own his likeness. He even revealed on a Howard Stern interview back in the early 2000s. And Cena was okay with it
He's like totally okay with it. Yeah.
because WWE made
Created
him who
his
he was
image
today.
and persona.
You guys don't know how it was created?
From what I understand, he initially started off as a jobber,
It
or
was just like a regular buff guy.
His first
Yeah.
match was against Kurt Angle.
Right, and then
He was
in the
on a-
backstage. Vince, Stephanie McMahon heard him
it was on
rapping.
a tour bus.
Right? Heard him rapping or whatever, and she was like, "What the heck?" And like she spun it. I remember watching it with you. We were kids. It went from one SmackDown to the next.
He was just thugonomics all
Right,
the way,
it
bro.
Oh,
went
yeah.
from coming
He
in with the clock on his chest, and that's when I stopped watching wrestling, y'all.
And
Because
that's-
I couldn't stand this.
he had a temporary callback to the Dr. Thugonomics in WrestleMania in 2019. Very
Right,
short,
right,
very
right,
short,
yep.
but by no means the same as early 2000s.
I hated that. But once he took that character, that persona, to me it was so cringe that I stopped watching wrestling. And I was from the era of
Attitude
Stone Cold, The Rock,
What?
Undertaker,
Triple H.
the NWO.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it just was way different. The Attitude Era was something else to what we have now. And then to even
Got
with-
it. The Undertaker.
And
The
it's
era of
crazy though
McMahon and
because
Briscoe.
a lot of it, from what I understand, was that the writers changed. There's people who write these
Right.
these
Characters, yeah.
and a lot of them have changed since the Attitude.
have you seen the dark side of the wrestling?
Oh yeah, all of them,
Dope,
as
right?
many as I could during the pandemic. It started with Benoit, and then it went to many others
Bro,
that had
Benoit's story is heartbreaking.
that one is the clips of
Have you heard of that one, Manny?
I have not.
Bro,
the
I'm gonna
Owen-
send you the thing.
the Owen Hart one. That one
one's
hurt.
sad, too.
That one hurt.
Oh,
remember-
like how basically Vince McMahon did him dirty and all that.
Oh,
Pardon me?
no, that's
Bret
Bret
Hart?
Hart.
That's what I'm
Owen
saying.
Hart is
Oh,
his
yeah.
brother that fell from the
Montreal
rafters.
Screwjob. Screwjob, excuse me.
That was that's Bret Hart's the Montreal Screwjob, and then he spit in his face and shit. That was off script, so that wasn't even supposed to happen.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and then
yeah.
he went and destroyed the whole thing and everything. But
Bro, but Chris Grandma, just to tell you, Manny, like real synopsis, bro, like this guy, I wouldn't say that he was like the names of like The Rock and the Triple H, but when you saw his matches, they were pretty entertaining. You know what I mean?
Without question, one
So
of the most
fans
technically
loved him.
gifted wrestlers.
Yeah, he
in
was
the
a
history
very
of the
fan
profession.
favorite thing, and I remember, if I'm not mistaken, around that time he had become the heavyweight champion too.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal because he became the heavyweight champion, and then Eddie Guerrero won the championship.
Eddie
2004.
Guerrero he snapped because Eddie Guerrero died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Eddie Guerrero was found
Passed
dead
away.
a year before.
That was the
all
beginning of
that
the end.
shit.
2005 and then 2 years
when-
But I'm
later.
never gonna forget that. I think it was a WrestleMania or something like that where they both came out and celebrated together.
2004. That was WrestleMania XX, and
Yeah.
the heartbreaking thing about that is that we obviously know that when it comes to the setup for the initial show, that is the main event. But now, because of all that happened post 2007, and they're trying to save face from a corporate standpoint, they've replaced it with Undertaker and Kane. Now, make no mistake, the Undertaker match I enjoyed because Undertaker is one of my favorite wrestlers. But knowing that matchup between Benoit, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels, and then that bittersweet moment of Benoit and Guerrero just coming together, brothers who came from the same cloth, who were there during the era of WCW, during the Monday Night Wars, and then they came to this profession and they reached this echelon of excellence in spite of hardship. It's bittersweet. The man, Chris Benoit, what he did cannot and should not be forgiven by anyone, both in and out of the business. As a technical wrestler, one of the all-time greatest, but it's a bitter pill to swallow because from his
basically what happened, bro. Like when you watch the thing, you'll see all the details, bro. But they
killed his
found
dog,
him.
yeah.
They found him and his family dead,
Yeah,
bro. And
yeah.
like they say that he killed himself and the family, like his
Nah,
son and the
he
wife.
did it. He
It's
did
also
it.
rumored that he ended up killing his son using one of his premier moves when he was in a wrestling ring. It's called the crippler crossface, where basically you're on top of your opponent and you hold your hands in this position and you're basically just like squeezing them with all your body weight, and you're putting it on their face so they're not able to move, they're not able to break free of the pin. So if that is the case,
and just all the context, because like he had contacted some people before that, and like he contacted like 3 people and sent them
to get them to do the job.
Nah, bro, not even like that. Just like kind of like
peace out.
Yeah, like kind of and like very vague, very vague.
He called Chavo Guerrero and said, "I love you, I love
and like
you."
2 other people, bro, and then. It was a point where they were like, "Oh, someone has to go check up on this guy," and then sure enough,
well, he was supposed to wrestle that Monday.
Yeah.
ECW.
He was supposed to wrestle and he didn't show up.
What made him do that? Do they talk about that?
I'm telling you, it was the snapping of losing.
Eddie Guerrero had passed away.
Eddie Guerrero had passed away, and they were best friends. Like he's talking about that bond and that friendship, and that when he lost Eddie Guerrero, that it was like they had a bromance, bro. They're like best friends. Like it was like a bond of. I mean, his wife, Eddie Guerrero's wife, describes it was crazy that it crushed him, bro. That when Chavo calls Chris Benoit to tell him that Eddie was found dead in his hotel,
bawling.
bro, he was screaming like a kid, bro. And this is a buff ass dude that's like, like
looks mean, bro.
It's crazy.
He looks like what he is, a killer.
Right, and it just tormented him, and like. I don't know, man. It's crazy, bro.
He looks like what he is, a killer.
Nah, he was. Bro. He had this look in his eye that wasn't kind of.
It was a trip because there was also at some point, like you could say, a conspiracy theory that someone came and killed all of them and whatnot. But there's been details of what like Kevin's talking about, that the way that like the son got killed, like that it just seems that it was him.
Okay,
and all
so
that.
like when they did basically the post-mortem.
The autopsy.
Yeah, that's when they were able to see like
the way that people
Bro,
died. But at first they were like, somebody said
he hung himself in his gym and put all this weight on the gym, and then he just wrapped that shit. He was found hung.
There's a conspiracy that apparently management in WWE at the time, including Vince McMahon, knew about the murders during the time when they were airing a tribute show on Raw.
Right. And then the next week they just
the next day, dude. The next day they found out.
No. I'm talking about the next week. It was like they took every image off of Chris Benoit. Like it was gone. Like,
absolutely.
Like if last week didn't even happen. And they even said one thing, right? Like what was the exception?
Actually, there's always been cases, including this year, if I remember correctly, maybe last year, where fans would still try and find a way to implement Chris Benoit paraphernalia. There was a shirt during a pay-per-view called Clash at the Castle where some fan wrote down, let's say, "Thank God my father is not Chris Benoit," and it was live on camera, and they were singing. I think they were singing. It wasn't "Sweet Caroline." It was a song with Tyson Fury. Singing along with Drew McIntyre, another famous professional wrestler. What happened though was there was a WWE encyclopedia. I believe it was released either 2022, 2021, and there was a page dedicated to Chris Benoit that speaks on his accomplishments, his credentials, his legacy within WWE, his history with Japanese promotions, his history with WCW, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it says something along the lines of, "What he did outside of the ring cannot be forgotten, nor should it be championed the way that we champion his career as a wrestler. But the prowess and the technicality of Chris Benoit, the performer, can never be understated, thus making him one of the greatest of all time as a wrestler." It was shocking because I almost wonder if they're trying to gradually bring him back in to the stratosphere of wrestling know-how, because with the Benoit documentary, whether they acknowledge him or not, the name of Chris Benoit is never, ever going to leave anyone's mindset if they even know an iota on what pro wrestling truly is.
That's for sure. Yeah, that merger just in itself, I wonder what's gonna happen, because I did hear Dana White talking about it. He mentioned that there's already, like, they got Brock Lesnar to come to the UFC.
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey went to the
Conor
WWE.
McGregor with his photo man-up of him holding a UFC title and a WWE title. That was strictly from Conor's, and so by no means was it officially designated. But
but even then, Conor has teased about how he wants to, like.
I mean, he'd be the perfect guy because of his persona.
Oh, absolutely.
And then I just think that we'll probably see a little bit more of UFC fighters might go there.
We saw Whitaker and Alexander Volkanovski making a little tribute when Alex was Stone Cold and
I remember
Whitaker
that. That
was
was
Hulk
fun.
Hogan.
That was fun.
And they were kind of making like a little joke of it, but I don't know,
And
man.
don't forget, this one is lesser known. Matt Riddle, before he was a WWE superstar, he was a contender on the UFC, but then he transitioned
CM
from
Punk
that to
too.
that.
CM Punk sucked in the
Oh,
UFC,
so
but
no,
Yeah,
Phil.
bro.
Let's not
He
talk
did
about
it.
Phil.
He did it.
He did it. He did it. I respect him for trying, but no, we're talking about fighters. We're talking about contenders.
CM
whatever
Punk,
guy
bro,
did
that was a joke. I'm sorry.
no.
When he
Don't
fought-
you apologize.
His one time that he fought Mickey Gall, bro, I felt so bad for him, bro.
The only
He looked so bad.
and then the matchup with him and Mike Jackson. The only funny
to
thing
me
about
it looked
that,
just as bad as round 1 and 2 for Rojas.
oh gosh.
Worse, bro.
Boy,
CM Punk looked
don't
like
disrespect Rojas like
I'm gonna
that.
disrespect
Come on.
the kid, man. Put some fuel in that ass.
CM Punk, bro. It
You
looked
got
like
an
he shouldn't even
18-year-old
have
and
been
you
in
got
that
a
octagon,
40-something
bro.
with no experience.
CM Punk shouldn't even have been in that
You look like
octagon,
a total
bro.
amateur.
Bro, even
Yeah,
yes,
don't
dog.
disrespect amateurs like that. Even amateurs
You know
got
what I mean,
experience.
bro? Like,
Nah, man, don't
but look,
disrespect.
going back-
That's CM Punk. That's the heavyweight championship of WWE, wasn't he? He was,
He had Money in the
he was
Bank.
WWE champion, not that heavyweight.
He left in 2014. He had a hiatus for 7 years. He returned in 2021. He fucked up last year because he got pissy about some executives. Now he's out of wrestling again. I don't know what the dude's gonna do. He has this reputation now of being just a prissy little bitch who can't take criticism, and everything that he's done in other promotions, it's not indicative of the promotion fucking up. It's him just being such an ego-driven little twerp that can't really realize that he's not all that he's cracked up to be. And it's a shame because I'll admit there have been many matches both in WWE and in AEW. As of late, AEW is a new
watch
pro wrestling
AEW?
promotion. Partly, I don't watch the shows like on TNT. I watch like the highlights on YouTube.
Don't
but
they say that supposedly that one's better or whatever? I don't know. That's the way they
I heard
promote
it's more brutal.
What happens in AEW? Yes, definitely. AEW, I would compare it to if WWE is sports entertainment, which is geared towards family-friendly advertisers getting these multi-billion-dollar contracts with these sponsors and such. AEW is more for the purist wrestling fan. Those who don't want all the jargon, all the John Cena bullshit. You can't see me all flippy kicky. They want people from the independent circuit who are willing to put their bodies on the line in the name of true pro wrestling. So WWE is more the mainstream. AEW is a glorified niche.
that's cool.
And that's where they get hurt more. That's where you see blood.
There's a person by the name of John Moxley. John Moxley is notable for being number one, the highest paid wrestler on the AEW roster, $6 million annually. Number two, he was Dean Ambrose in WWE with a trio known as the Shield. Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and now Roman Reigns. If that
Would
name
you
is
say you
familiar.
watch more? You're more familiar with WWE than the UFC?
UFC more. I actually.
Hold on, bro. He didn't answer my question, man.
Oh.
I know.
what's up?
I was just curious about that.
What's up, bro? You bring it. All right. What? How can I help?
My question was,
Hawani.
what do you mean brutal? Like, describe to me, because I don't watch this.
There's a
so
phrase
I'm
by the
trying
name of
to-
Crimson Mask, and just to name John Moxley alone, he is notable for being who is called a deathmatch wrestler. Deathmatch wrestling does not focus on the technical aspect of wrestling.
Is it like Call of Duty deathmatch?
It could be if you gave him 30 minutes to just do it all in the ring. Let's see. You know how there's this whole shtick of taking steel chairs or wooden sticks or all this random jargon just to eviscerate your opponent. A hardcore match is basically you take items that would be considered taboo in sports entertainment, pizza cutters, forks, barbed wire, explosives, fire-drenched tables, and you make that the focal point of an entire match. It could range from 30 to 60 minutes, and by the end of that match, that entire ring will be splotched in blood. The opponents will have blood caking their faces. It'll be in their hair. Their clothing will be completely in tatters. Basically, if I were to compare it to something, Lawler McDonald 2.
Which just hit or was it the first one that made the Hall of Fame right now?
Lawler McDonald 2. That's the one that made Hall of Fame.
Got it.
Yeah, that's from a blood standpoint. From
And
technical standpoint,
AEW,
by
is
no
that
means.
the one that comes out on TNT?
TNT, yeah. AEW Rampage, AEW
So
Dynamite.
how do we know that they don't have like little bags or something? You know.
If
How do
they
we know
if
that
they
they're
did
not?
if they did, it would be pretty difficult to conceal it properly because given the fact that Moxley, for example, when he goes in there, he's all shirtless. If you were to see a pouch, stapled, because that man is a fucking wild man, stapled or taped onto your chest, that would immediately break the illusion. Purist wrestling fans, they want to maintain this idea that kayfabe, basically this whole idea that wrestling is still real. Damn it. It's if you've seen that joke, you'll know exactly where that comes from. But it would break the illusion, and it would immediately get into the minds of pro wrestling fans, because they're
question
very,
is, do you
they're very
believe it's
fickle.
real?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
However, the technicality of the wrestling and the injuries that do come from the profession, that is real. The predetermined nature of the matches and the wins, sure, yes, all fake. But CTE, brain damage, lacerations to your body, to your flesh, to your bones, just like with any other major competitive outing, that's all too real.
Undertaker talked about that on Joe Rogan's pod.
What do you have, 16 surgeries overall?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
So yeah, he talked about it's brutal on your body.
And one thing, going back to the Chris Benoit topic, it's on the matter of CTE, brain damage. Chris Benoit is noted for also having another finishing move called the flying headbutt, where he'll go to the top of a turnbuckle and he will literally, without any hyperbole, face first, skull on skull. There have been times where he would just be shaking in agony. You wonder if he's either playing a gimmick or if he's trying to counteract a literal seizure happening in the middle of that ring. It has been said, once again, I'm no professional, so take what I say with a grain of salt, that when he died and the autopsy was performed, that his brain was equivalent to that of a 90-year-old Alzheimer's patient based on how much damage he sustained during his career. So not only was it the sentimental nature of losing his best friend, and of course another one of the greatest of all time, Eddie Guerrero, it also had to do with the fact that he was not in the right mindset, and he was far from reality, far from collected. I have to say this carefully. If he were to go out on his own, if he were to decide that he no longer wanted to be here and he cut it off strictly by himself and left his his wife and his son to their own thing, leave them be, keep them out of whatever hell is going on in your mind, unfortunately, I'm sure we will be speaking about him in a lot more reverential sense, and perhaps his son, for example, I believe his name is he wants to go by the name Chris Benoit Jr., the remaining child of the Benoit family, who has gone into pro wrestling.
So he is following his father's.
Yeah.
Yes, but unfortunately, given the name Benoit, it is going to be quite difficult for him to get much mainstream appeal, I feel, because since his father is still very much blacklisted from the industry, try as he might, that name is going to be the scarlet letter that's going to follow him throughout his entire tenure. And it's a shame, because he is talented and the son is not guilty.
Do you think he needs to be the heel in order to make it?
I'd say that with a name like Benoit, you are doomed to be a heel, because in your blood, there's blood.
I mean, his dad was already a heel. He wasn't a baby
but I'm
face.
saying, in order to make it with that name, he would have to be the heel.
During that time, he had moments of being a heel, he had moments of being a babyface. It was dependent on the scenario, it was dependent on where he was and what he fulfilled. WrestleMania, for example, he was complete babyface. When Eddie Guerrero died and he was in a Raw tribute show when he had a matchup against Triple H, he was in tears. He was immediate babyface because he had such a connection with Guerrero that, frankly, the fact that he managed to get through that match in spite of being so emotionally shattered, I'd say from that point his spirit was broken. His body was just trying to tolerate whatever upkeep he had for the following 2 years, but he was dead inside. The man Chris Benoit that we knew was gone. And it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. One of the greatest talents, now this.
So Ryan Garcia is coming up against...
Yes.
Hold up, before we get to there, we gotta talk about Izzy.
You gotta talk about Kevin Holland winning his fight too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bro, hold on. We get back to it. I just want to go over this with him because I'm pretty sure it's going to be really quick, sir. All right? So how do you feel about Ryan and Tank?
That is one that I really have to do all my homework on. Ryan Garcia, obviously, the name is familiar to me from I would have to say 2021 to 2022. That's when I really started dipping my toes into who he was and what made him so special. But I would be a liar and a complete jerk off if I presumed that I was an expert in that. So the same way that we have your embeddeds or your UFC countdowns, I'm going to look into those Showtime uploads with all the synopsis on what goes into the fight camp, the prep, and just to get myself as informed and as hyped up for this. Because when I see it, I don't just want to see a show. I want to be immersed in the show. I want to be invested.
The story that's been told.
I want that same reaction that you get when you're with the boys in whatever studio you're in, whatever house you're in, whatever crib you're hanging out with and watching the show, and just all going fucking bananas, because that's what you see right there. it strikes a chord. I want to have a chord struck when I watch that program, so I got to do my homework beforehand.
So you don't have a horse in the race right now?
Not right now. Not right now,
now?
because since I'm so uninformed and uninitiated, I can't even begin to go one over the other. If anything, the only horse that I'd have is Garcia, simply because I'm more familiar with him. To no discredit of the opponent, it's a discredit to me for not being as informed as I should be.
Gotcha. All right, going back to...
Oh, no, we're going to have to keep talking about this. Who you got, Manny?
Who I got? I think we've been...
Because you've seen... I would assume you've seen more Ryan's... at least some of Ryan's fights, or one of Ryan's fights.
Yes, I actually have.
Okay.
I've seen Ryan's. I've seen Tank's as well.
As well, so you can make a better prediction.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna say that I had Tank getting this in the beginning when it was first announced. But I've been watching like interviews and seeing Ryan, and I don't know. There's something about Ryan where I'm seeing him focused in a way that I haven't seen him focused, bro. Like the way he's talking, the way he's interacting, and it's kind of like, huh. I mean, I always liked Ryan because, I mean, he got famous on IG. That's how I knew about him. Like, he got famous from doing, like, the punches that he would do on influencers, showing his speed and everything. But to me, like, when I look at that stuff, I know that's part of training, but I'm like, all right, how does that now translate you in the ring, you know? And there's also, I forget the fight where he was dropped. I'm pretty sure you remember the fight because I don't remember his
Against
opponent
Campbell.
right now. That he got dropped too, and a lot of people looked at that and they were like, you know, is he ready to hit that next level when he's asking for the next level fight? He did end up winning that fight.
Yeah, for me that was.
But
like,
you know,
for me, especially in any sport, man, you have to overcome some adversity, and it would have been different if he lost that fight. He got dropped and knocked out. Like, but the fact he came back and
he
took
won.
the guy out with a gut punch and a pretty brutal one.
But if he loses that fight, he doesn't get this fight.
Without a doubt, we're not talking about him right now if he loses that fight. What do you think, Enzo? Because you were also heavily on the Tank side, and seems like you're swaying to the other side.
I mean, I had a personal experience with him. I literally met him outside of these doors, so that's kind of like why I feel like. And then he had an experience with my client that kind of made me feel like, damn, you're a humble ass dude. So I feel like, I think he's doing more press conference as far as not press conference, doing more press because he's on podcasts left and right. And plus, on top of the Showtime All Access, he's also locally. He's at Zoo Culture down the street, running from one Zoo Culture to the next. So that's pretty sick to see. Literally saw him outside of the shop. So I feel like Ryan's gonna surprise a lot of people. But we also can't sleep on Tank, and Ryan can't be overconfident. He needs to come in with that focus that he's displaying right now, and we'll see what happens April 22nd. But shit's crazy, man, because we got Loma and Devin Haney, I think it's next month also. That's going to be a good fight.
Yep.
And Shakur Stevenson just fought this weekend. He beat somebody. There's this guy that's like, I think he's from France. He's like 6'1" or 6 feet. He fights at 155, and he just got dropped this weekend. And he was beating everybody because he was so tall at 155.
Plus the reach. You got
Reach,
that reach,
bro,
yeah.
but he's a stick, bro. Think about, what's that animal? That's that green praying mantis? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's a praying mantis.
Yeah, praying mantis.
Yeah, bro, it looks like that as a boxer. And he threw an uppercut this weekend. And since he's so long, somebody just counted it. Bro, he was laid out. I felt bad for him because they got to number 7 on the count, and he knew he couldn't get up. And he was just like, nah, just... It's almost like he was telling the ref, don't count to 10 because I can't get up, regardless.
Like, slow down, man, slow down.
Almost out, just count it out. You don't even have to... Don't embarrass me going to 10. But the ref got to do his job. He got to be officiating. So he went to 10, and then he just smiled and smirked, and he was like, fuck. Like, but I was like, damn, bro. Like, they were hyping him up. They were building him
because
up.
it's like just because you have length, like, yes, you get there faster. But then if the other dude's able to move out of the way quicker...
But that's the thing about length. Sometimes it takes longer to get there.
But it's a longer to come back. That's what I'm saying. If the dude can get out of the way of your punch... He's able to come in quicker and then hit you because your arms are going to take a longer time to return. because you got that length on
You
you.
should not be throwing an uppercut if you're that big and you're that far. You should be getting, I don't know. But back to fucking the UFC. We saw
Kevin Holland beat Santiago Ponzinibbio.
and by was that a lucky punch, guys? Did he get
I don't
lucky?
think so. I don't think so.
What do you mean?
I think he got him clean.
He got him clean, but was it a luck? Because in fighting, there's ounces of luck. You don't just like.
I mean, look at
For
put it this way, bro.
instance-
You're in an octagon, you're throwing punches. I don't really think it's more about luck. It's more about probability.
And what is probability? It's luck.
I don't think it's luck. I think because when we're talking about at least when I learned probability, it's like you're gonna stick your hand in a bag and there's 3 red squares and 2 red. And you know what I mean? All that stuff.
Some people would call that probability luck.
I'm some people I wouldn't.
You know what I'm saying? Like they would interpret that as luck because it's like
Luck is
the way
more.
the way he hit him was like a down fist.
Nah,
wasn't
but
it?
see, the reason I would agree with your brother is because luck is like everything just works out for you every time. Probability is this might work or it might not work.
What I mean as in luck is Kevin Holland hasn't been in a crazy streak. He's been streaky. You know what I'm saying? Like he loses a fight, he does something spectacular, then he starts losing and shit. Like, and he loses it in the stupidest way. It's like, bro, it's almost like he loses in a way that Rojas lost. Like,
But then,
he gasses himself
then again,
out.
the guys that he's lost to are all grappling guys, which is not his specialty.
Nah, he got his ass whooped by Stephen Thompson.
Yeah,
Stephen
bro.
Thompson whooped his
broke
ass.
his hand.
And that's when they were both like, let's not grapple, bro. Let's only strike.
Right. And he broke
Got
his
ass
hand.
Whooped in that one. Like it was kind of like he made Stephen Thompson look like he was 20
Like
years younger.
he was coming back.
Yeah.
That was-
Bro, he made him look like a phenomenal UFC fighter. Like if
Experience, but it's
Stephen Thompson
experience,
also
though.
hasn't been losing fights, you know?
And
Yeah.
it was also sad to see Kevin Holland eat his words because he thought he was going to beat his ass. And he didn't, you know? So I feel like Kevin Holland he's a great entertaining fighter for sure, but he has to get a better camp too, bro. So he got to get disciplined. He got to do a lot of things because Ponzinibbio does a lot of things that sometimes he gets lucky too. And in that sense that like he'll punch somebody out of nowhere like, oh shit, like, or he'll do some shit crazy. Pereira does that too. Not Pereira. What's that other guy from Brazil that fights in that Ponzinibbio? Pereira, right?
Yeah. But he's that guy. See that
He
guy
be doing some flip shit or something like
that fool's wild, bro.
He's wild for sure, but he's gotten lucky with some punches.
That guy is for sure that dude's the one that does a backflip and wants to stomp on your face and stuff like that.
Right.
Like mid fight. So yeah, man, that's something else. But I'm glad that he won because this is a good fight at welterweight for him to fight to get a dub over. Because Ponzinibbio's he's no walk in the park by any means. So the question now is, who does he fight at welterweight? You know what I mean? Because Ponzinibbio was right here. We're seeing he was ranked, I think like number 10 or something like that. And his ranking was pretty down there just because of all this stuff we're saying. You know, but at the same time, this guy got paid for fighting Khamzat while he was overweight in that one fight.
That's what I mean.
At the end of the year. So yeah, it's been
And he was trying to start beef with Masvidal.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
He's trying to get another payday.
he's trying to start beef with everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's because he got a huge bag against Khamzat. So it's like, if you know you can get a huge bag by just, being rowdy and being like that,
That was something
obviously
that
he's going to
Masvidal-
try to start beef with other people.
Masvidal spoke on that, and because at the press conference, Dana White was like, "These guys aren't fighting."
Oh, you cut it
Why-
off real quick.
Yeah, he cut him off super quick. But
Well, it's
when
because
he
he
was-
doesn't want that same violence to happen
Yeah.
that happened with that fight where they were fighting in the back.
yeah, Kevin Holland and Khamzat. But in this case, he was talking about that. There's Donald Trump right there. It's funny. George Masvidal was saying that Kevin Holland, like, especially during fight week, you're surrounded by UFC security and whatnot. So he's talking about how he's walking past with like five UFC securities around him, and then Kevin Holland calls him like a female or something like that.
Ooh.
And he was like, he misgendered me and this and that, and like he knows that if it was just me and him walking down the hall, just us, he's not gonna say that. And you see that a lot. I feel like in the UFC when. I mean, Kobe Covington, he started shit with Usman, and like when there's like a bunch of people around, they don't do it when it's just like them two. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I think Kevin Holland is one of those guys that he will start something and not back off of it. You know what I mean?
But yeah, you're starting it with the guy that has the BMF title, and you're thinking, oh, this guy's not going to retire. You're looking for a bag.
Yeah. And considering, all right, so Right now, Ponzinibbio, I don't even think he was in the rankings. But Pereira that we're talking about, Michel Pereira, he's number ranked 15. Who else could he fight? Neil Magny. He could have fought Masvidal, but Masvidal now is out of it. You know what I mean? Vicente Luque, Sean Brady. He has a couple of people that he could fight and become ranked within the welterweight division. But I feel like it's gonna take the right dancing partner, and I feel like it has to be someone like a Luque, a Jeff Neal,
How
a
old
Neil
is
Magny.
this guy?
Who?
Kevin Holland?
I'll double check that out for you right now.
30, I think.
I would think so.
Yeah, so he's still got like 5 years in him if he
And
maintains.
Ponzinibbio was 36.
Kevin Holland.
Because I'm like, in my head right now, I'm like, bro, there's no way you're beating Usman, bro. There's no way you're. Like, I'm looking
Well,
at that
honestly,
different
after
shit.
the last way I saw Usman fight, bro, like I think he's a very
Usman
beatable
is-
fighter right now.
Usman is in his head.
He's from '92, so he's Enzo's age.
Nah, he's younger than me. I'm 91.
My bad. Byron's age, '92.
Yeah.
So how old are you, Enzo, right now?
32.
So he's like 31. Yeah, he's gonna be 31 this year, I believe, in November. So yeah, he got a lot of it. He's in his physical prime right now, but he has to get it because as I'm looking at his record right here, his losses have been to Stephen Thompson, Khamzat, Kyle Dawkins, Marvin Vittori, Derek Brunson. So
See how that's all over the place, though?
But that's because he was in a different division as well. He just went to this division.
But most of those guys are still in the same division.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you're losing to guys all over the spectrum from 1 to 10 is kind of alarming. So where do you fall?
Yeah.
And it sucked because honestly, the Derek Brunson fight, they were laying on the mat the whole time. Same thing with Marvin.
but that's
Derek,
because
that's
that
where
goes back-
Derek learned not to be wild anymore.
That goes back to his point that it was mostly grapplers.
Yeah, he lost to a lot of grapplers.
Because everybody found out that
he can't
you can't grapple. You know? You're one-dimensional.
And it's just crazy because he's one of the fighters that came up during the pandemic too.
But that's again because he's one-dimensional because he has knockout power, right? But he got lucky with Robert Swaza. Remember?
Jacare Souza, yeah.
Yeah, when he that's like a lucky punch. That the probability of that was.
But that's what also pumped him up, where he was trash talking big for the next one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember you even liked the
Because
It's
yeah,
entertaining.
nah, bro.
No, it's
prior
entertaining.
prior
That's
to
what I'm saying, it's
Jacare, bro, he was
entertaining.
before he knocked out Jacare, bro. He was on a four or five win streak.
But
Jacare was the fifth one.
He was damn near fighting almost every week at that point.
Because he was one. He was like Khamzat, bro. Since he was like, yeah, I'm gonna fight whoever, whenever. He was just active like that, bro. But yeah, Kevin Holland, and it's interesting because he has a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so he's not even a one-dimensional guy. He just needs to
Put on weight because I think that he's too light.
He's a black belt?
in jiu-jitsu. Yep,
Did he just recently get that?
he's always had that, bro.
It's because you could be that, but I feel like he's so light, bro.
And it also depends on where you get the black belt from. Who's like
What judo?
What, yeah, all that stuff. You know what I mean? But he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Bro, he didn't even have takedown defense in some of the fights that we saw, bro.
But some of these guys, the caliber of fucking.
But you got to remember, jiu-jitsu and wrestling are two. A lot of jiu-jitsu guys
Literally,
are welcoming.
so many fighters said after he had a few losses in wrestling, they said if he just learned a little bit of defense and controlling the wrist, takedown defense, controlling the wrist, he would be fine. He doesn't need to be that deep or that good in it.
Yeah,
Because that's where he was messing up.
Nah, and I
So
guess
that's why I'm like, he's a black belt. I'm tripping
Yeah.
out right now.
yeah, I mean, bro, Charles Oliveira is a black belt and got submitted by a wrestler.
Oh no, but that's a different thing though.
What do you mean? He still got
Those
submitted
are
by a
diff-
wrestler.
those are different
He didn't
styles.
have takedown defense when Islam, but it's still wrestling and jiu-jitsu are very, very different. Because
That's what I
jiu-jitsu
said,
is
different styles.
Jiu-jitsu it's all about, you can have a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but you can still get taken down by a wrestler because a wrestler's bread and butter is to get your ass on the mat. A jiu-jitsu guy is to get you in a rear naked choke, get you in a knee bar, get you in a guillotine, different things like that. But with a wrestler, he's looking to control you more than anything. That's what we see from Khabib, from Kobe, from Khamzat, like all these guys that are elite at that thing. It's about controlling you. Once they get you there, since the sport allows it, they're gonna smash and they're gonna do the rest. But you could be excellent at jiu-jitsu. And that's why I brought up Oliveira and Islam, because Islam is a great wrestler, and we've seen Charles what he was able to do.
You saw back and forth in that one until that last one where he got dominated.
But it was also the thing of
it wasn't like Charles just got he couldn't defend himself or anything.
Well, the thing about jiu-jitsu guys is they welcome them getting put on the mat, because they're confident enough that I can submit you off of my back. So that's why, like, a jiu-jitsu guy is not gonna necessarily have the greatest takedown defense, because they'll welcome that. You know what I mean? With the Islam and Charles fight, Islam hit him in the chest square, bro, and put him down on his butt, and that was one time he went down.
Jumped on him,
And the rest of the time was Islam. I mean, Charles, in a sense, hoping that his jiu-jitsu would carry it, and he ended up getting submitted, which is the crazy part. A dart stroke, I think it was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Kevin Holland, he has to fight someone that's gonna be that'll strike with him for the most part.
Yeah, because in that Brunson fight,
even the Marvin Vittori one, bro, that shit was boring.
Yeah.
You know? And right now he's at welterweight, so I think he has a good opportunity to make a little bit of a run.
Yeah, bro. You think he takes Leon Edwards?
Oh, who knows if Leon's still the champion by the end of the year, though? That's the thing. You know? But we also had Israel Adesanya come back and win his belt back in a very, very great fashion.
And playing possum?
Yep.
Do you think
Makes me think he was doing that in the first one.
You think he was playing possum at that, or he was really getting beat up?
It makes me think if that's what he was doing in the first fight, bro. Because in the first fight it was almost the same thing. This fool was the aggressor coming at him, and then this time around you just saw him pull out the.
Well, if you see the first when he got saved by the bell in the first round of the first fight in the UFC, it's the same type of punch that he landed that knocked him out in the second round in the fight. Mm-hmm. So I feel like he wasn't playing possum. I just feel like I said, it goes back to how much bigger Alex looked in the last fight compared to this fight. Izzy just looked much more bigger. That I think he could take a hit. And Alex, he looked big in there. He just didn't look as huge as he did last time. Pause.
Pausa.
Huh?
Pausa.
And I just think it plays to the fact that last time he went 5 rounds and he got depleted too because of the wrestling.
Nah, but this fight went faster, man. The first round was them checking each other. Second round was very hot, and then third round you get the knockout.
No, it ended a second. And didn't go to the third.
It ended in second?
Yep.
Yeah. 1 minute left in the second round.
Yeah.
It's because Izzy said in the post conference that he got hit and his calf was already touched, and that he has a phenomenal calf kick, and that after the first round he said he felt a couple more kicks coming. He's like, damn, I gotta take this guy out now. And he played possum. He kept saying that after. He's like, I played possum. He said that in the octagon, and then he said that post. He's like, I played possum, but I don't think he necessarily played possum in the first fight. I just think that Alex was catching him, and the ref saved him. Was trying. I don't think he was out personally. Like, if I'm gonna go back to that time, I thought that he could have I wanted to see Izzy, if he was gonna get knocked out. Kind of how like Alex got knocked out. But clearly the ref saved him. And rightfully so, because if he doesn't get knocked out, we probably don't get this fight this soon. You know what I'm saying? Because getting knocked out does a lot to a fighter.
Yeah, exactly. He got
TKO.
Even though it has happened to him before with the same fighter.
Right, but he didn't. That's what I'm saying. The ref
but in that fight, it was a TKO, wasn't it? It was a TKO.
Yeah, because it was a ref.
No, I'm talking about when they kickboxed.
Yeah, he got dropped.
Yeah. The kickboxing one, yeah. But I'm talking about in the UFC, the first fight in the UFC that they had, that was a TKO.
Right, because the ref came in and stopped it.
Yeah,
right.
it was a stoppage. Yeah. It wasn't him.
So I think if
it wasn't what he did to Pereira.
Because this was a knockout.
Yeah. This was a knockout.
That's a flat line, bro.
Yeah, he went to the shadow round, bro.
He went. He was like he planked him.
Yeah, that super necessary at the end though was incredible. What'd you think about this, Kevin? You had been anticipating this fight for a while, and you finally got to see the rematch. What'd you think about it?
Oh my goodness, the build-up in and of itself. Sometimes I wonder, If indeed we're in a hypothetical scenario of if Adesanya were to bottle this one as well, and Pereira were to continue on and maintain that mystique of being Adesanya's kryptonite, would we still consider Adesanya to be one of the greats? Because the narrative now, and rightfully so, is that through adversity, through a 7-year history of going against the one man across 2 promotions, who finally, in spite of everything, in spite of criticism, in spite of theories, in spite of people continually trying to belittle and even put Adesanya's legacy into question, seeing it all amount to that one key moment. 1, 2, 3, and then you see him immediately. 1, 2, 3 defeats, and then going up to his kid and then imitating the same fall that the kid did back when he was in the kickboxing promotion.
I like how he does the when he hops up back to his feet.
Oh, that kip up was something else. It reminds me of Shawn Michaels when he does the kip up.
Yeah, exactly.
But this I would definitely say it more than delivered, and this in and of itself does demonstrate. And let's not even get into the post fight interview that he gave. This in and of itself must be placed on the same echelon as one of the most all-time satisfying, one of the greatest matchups in the modern history of the UFC, unless we're going the full tenure of the organization. Because this right here, in a word, special. I know that's overused again and again, but this right here, the storyline finally reaching its apex. Now all we can really hope for is we can potentially find a fight that gives us that much emotionality, the same way that this one gave it.
Who does he fight next?
I think he fights
Jan?
Nah, I don't think that fight happens. I think the next.
Jan said he gonna go down to middleweight.
His next 3 fights at middleweight.
That's what Jan said. He tweeted that.
Yeah, he tweeted it, but I don't know if it's gonna happen because Jan's gonna be super depleted for that.
Let him do it. He should do it though, because
I think
he can drop to that and then day of the fight come back to normal weight.
That's gonna be tough, bro. I see that as being a way to. In that instance, I think it's too of an easy fight
Jan
for
wants
Adesanya.
that challenge. I could think he could do it. I just want him to get that leg back.
I think that it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be 3 fights that we see in the middleweight division for Izzy. I think it's this guy Duplessis. It's Khamzat, because Khamzat's supposed to fight Paulo Costa, I believe, at the end of the year. So if he beats him, bro, that's for sure the fight they're gonna make.
I forgot about Paulo Costa.
Yeah. He signed like a 5-fight deal. And then the last
In
one,
my head, he was gone.
which is a long shot, but I see it happening if this guy can get a couple of wins and he's already been doing it, is Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker is one of those fighters I think he could fight a 3rd time. Besides that, I don't see him fighting anyone else that like a 3rd time around.
But he just said he doesn't want to fight that guy 3 times.
Who?
Whittaker.
Izzy.
Who's gonna fight who 3 times?
That would be the 3rd time he fights Whittaker. Isn't
Yeah.
it?
I think that's the only one that we see him do that with.
But that's what I'm saying. He said he doesn't want to fight a guy. No, but he said nobody wants to see me fight a guy 3 times.
That's why I don't think it's the immediate fight. It's just if Whittaker has that type of performance, he can get a title shot. But the next 2 guys for sure are that guy Duplessis, the South African.
Whittaker hasn't
Khamzat.
lost though, besides Izzy.
Right,
bro. That's
He's still.
If anything,
he's the number 1 second place, bro.
And like how Izzy said his story, in Whittaker's story, he's his kryptonite because he can't beat him. So, see what happens.
Yeah, and with for Pereira, for sure he moves up to 205, and if Jamal Hill's still the champion at that weight and he goes up, I see Pereira knocking Jamal Hill out, bro.
Ooh.
Like, easily.
Pereira can walk through that division.
The ones I see him having trouble with are with Jan and Jiri Prochazka. Those two guys are killers as well. I feel like Jan. I feel like more of his grappling. He'll do the kind of the same thing he did with Izzy, but Prochazka, bro, that fool's something else. It's sad that he got injured and all that. You guys saw that. You guys saw that whenever Jamal Hill won, and then he goes, "I'm coming, I'm coming." Bro, the memes on that, bro, had me dying.
I didn't see.
Huh?
I didn't see.
You haven't seen that when he goes, "I'm coming,
Jiri.
I'm coming."
Or Jiri says, "I'm coming."
I'll have to refresh my memory on that.
Or he's in the snow.
Yeah.
After Jamal won.
Not in the snow.
He's in the snow.
Not in the snow.
But Jamal,
he's like, "I'm coming for you. I'm coming."
Okay, now I
this
have
thing
to
is
see this
hilarious,
again.
bro.
Does Conor fight this year?
Conor fights Chandler, what, in September, they're saying? But he's having his battles with this one.
Congratulations. I'm coming. I'm coming!
Kratos?
And then Jamal Hill responds to him.
But where you at, though?
Give me a break.
Where you at, though? By the way,
Give me a break.
that's what she said. That's what she said!
So that's where that came from.
Yeah, because that's what he's like. By the way, that's what she said. That's what she said.
Now that isolated clip, I've heard that many times. Didn't know where to pinpoint it
Yeah,
from.
because Jerry Prohaska first tells him that after he won the title. He's like,
Congratulations.
I'm coming. Yeah, bro. So that division it has a monsters creeping up because, like Izzy said, bro, Pereira ain't no joke. He's gonna give those guys problems, man.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention, by the way. I needed that for the evening.
Which one? I'm coming.
The whole thing. I needed the full source just to make sure I was acquainted. And yeah, I'm well acquainted now.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
In some like universe, I would love to see John fight John. I know this is crazy, but see John Jones and the Izzy fight, but I don't think that happens.
You don't think so?
Nah, John.
Because what weight classes? I don't see John Jones coming back down to
Oh, yeah, you're not
to
doing
205. Like, and then Izzy going up to heavyweight.
That's
I see Pereira going up to heavyweight, but not Izzy. What do you guys think about that one? I don't. That's
It's
fine.
gonna happen, bro, as an exhibition
fantasy
match.
matchup.
It's an exhibition match.
The same way Mayweather is still going to remain undefeated, but he'll have all these YouTuber exhibitions. It'll happen, but it
Exactly.
won't matter in their records.
Exactly.
It'll still just be a good chunk of cheese, but it won't matter in the long run.
Exactly. That's how it will happen.